Evening, everyone. What an excitement and excited crowd. Welcome. I'm going to call to order our January 12th meeting. As a quick reminder, this meeting is being video recorded and broadcast. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please identify yourself so that I may make an announcement. Seeing none, we will move forward. I'd like everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic, great. The school committee has had an opportunity to preview the agenda as it was posted for the public as well. Is there an approval for the agenda as it was posted?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Courtney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lily. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. All right. Agenda is approved. And is there any input from the public specifically on agenda items? Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And do we have a student representative report?
We do. We have two right here.
Fantastic. Welcome. I'll pass it off to you. What's going on?
Hi, I'm Pixie. I'm the secretary for the class of 2027.
And I'm Victor Healy. I'm the treasurer of the senior class.
We have a lot of new things happening at the school, like the Tinsel and Talent Winter Showcase. It will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the Hall High School auditorium, and tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for students, and they can be purchased online and at the door. And all proceeds help reduce costs for the students attending the 2027 Global Leadership Summit in Paris and Prague. And term 2 ends January 16th, so it's important for us to remain focused to get our assignments turned in and pay attention to attendance.
And then also student government met last week to discuss events for the month of February. The club is currently planning celebrations for school counselors appreciation week, as well as SRO appreciation week, or appreciation day. Students would like to fundraise some money for the club by doing kindergrams around Valentine's Day, and Student Gov will meet next Tuesday to finalize those details, and that's all we have.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any comments or questions from the school committee?
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. Lots of
Yes.
exciting stuff. I hope the public really shows up for the Tinsel, what is it called? Tinsel and Talent?
Tinsel and Talent Winter
Tinsel and
Showcase.
Talent. I love that idea. I have a feeling Miss Folletti was behind that one, and it's a very creative idea. Love it. Okay, thank you. Now go do your homework. And just kidding, you can always stay. But fantastic. Is there a whole Teachers Association report?
Yes. I know in just a few minutes you're going to hear a lot of updates from the Jacobs School, so I just wanted to touch upon a few things. We first want to congratulate all of our student actors for a really wonderful performance of Dear Edwina. It was a lot of fun, and it was a great opportunity for not only the actors, but all the other students and the teachers to really see and celebrate with them. And also just send a big thanks to all of whoever was involved in organizing a really successful Jacobs Express Day. It's a great way to end the year before break, and it really went very, very smoothly. So a lot of thanks to all involved in all of that. And the high school had a really successful band concert on Friday afternoon, and our 7th graders were also able to attend. So again, a congratulations to all of our talented student musicians, and many, many thanks to Mr. Barkin and Mr. St. George for really helping to make sure that that happened. So that's it. We're ready to be back in the swing of calm now that all of the excitement of the holidays is
The excitement is over, and now we've just got to
back to,
like, I don't know, what do you call that?
routine.
Home
Yeah.
stretch.
Thank you.
I think Kyle's probably got some sports analogy you could throw at.
Yeah, if you've got any more sports analogy, let me know. Any other questions or comments for the whole Teachers Association from the school committee? No? Great.
Thank you, Maura.
Thank you, Maura. Wonderful. And with that, we do have some minutes to approve from our open session on December 15th. The school committee has had a chance to review those. Unless there's any discussion, is there a motion to approve the open session meetings from December 15th?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lily. Is there a second?
One second.
Thanks, Brendan. All those in favor of approving those minutes, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous. Those meeting minutes have been approved and will be set for record. Superintendent's business items. Pass it off to you, Dr. Jetty.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to welcome it's actually a large audience tonight. So I've asked the principals to try to showcase things that are happening in their school. And as always, Principal Shaw is overachieving by bringing a packed house. So that's awesome to see. I'm going to turn it right over to him and let him walk us through it. But you can see we are looking for approval on the overnight field trip to Nature's Classroom. And then we're going to hear from some student leaders. So Principal Shaw.
So good evening. I'm still experimenting with my approach to this new structure where each building presents to school committee on certain nights throughout the year. My goal is to bring a variety of school stakeholders to each meeting and give them the opportunity to speak, while also consistently sharing Jacob's happenings since our last school committee presentation. And then I also operate best with a theme. And so as of now, I'll try and bring a different theme to each presentation. So lots of people, Jacob's happening, theme. That's kind of my structure right now. So with that, I'm going to start with some Jacob's happenings since our last Jacob's presentation on November 4th, before transitioning to our theme this evening, which is leadership, during which time you'll hear from many of us. So starting with Jacob's happenings. Beyond the classroom staff, trainings, meetings, professional developments, all those things that you heard about from Mrs. Capadonna, Mrs. Ryan, and Dr. Jetty during your the last two school committee meetings. Countless enriching activities have been going on at the Jacobs School that I believe strengthen our culture, promote community involvement, and enhance the student and staff experience, which I believe increases engagement and effort by everyone. So some examples include our monthly assemblies. We have had 4 since my last school committee presentation, with Mrs. Rajan hosting 2 at our elementary level and Mrs. Scott hosting 2 at our middle school level. Certainly there's an open invitation for any of you in the audience that would like to join us, as I believe it's really an ingredient for our success and what makes the Jacobs special. In late November, we hosted our National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony for our elite scholars and leaders in our current 7th grade class, whom you will hear from tonight. Miss Katie Perniola, one of our 1st grade teachers, suggested our staff take part in a Thanksgiving gratitude activity, providing each staff with at least 6 comments of affirmation written by anonymous peers, which I thought was a great activity for us and will certainly become tradition moving forward. Our 1st grade participated in their annual Thanksgiving balloon parade, using their creativity and engineering skills to put a smile on all of the spectators' faces, and theirs too, as you can see. The Jacobs staff took part in our 4th annual staff turkey trot, which is always a fun team building activity where we end up having some appetizers at the Parrot afterwards. Anyone want to know who won? To ask. I won. What I thought was cool here is, so top right, that's myself and Mr. Menace. He came in 2nd. And then beneath that picture is Mr. Menace and I from 2009, first turkey trot.
That's cool.
Which
That's
is pretty
awesome.
cool. Let's see. Of course, we had our 17th annual school-wide turkey trot the Wednesday before Thanksgiving with our pep rally kicking things off. This year, sticking with our Elevate theme, we did our best to include some new and improved race features, including our race finish line, blow-up arch, which was donated by the Markowitz family, as well as some new additions to the pep rally with a heavy emphasis on the JMS chorus and band. And then, as Mrs. Jones mentioned right before break, Miss BW and crew hosted our first musical of the year, titled Dear Edwina Jr., with an evening performance which completely packed the house. And then we had another performance the next morning for our elementary students, which was a great way to potentially build the program, recruit future performers, as we are going to have another performance in the spring, and that play will be James and the Giant Peach. This is a great slide here. During the 5 days leading up to the holiday, the assistant principals and I, as well as the Sunshine Committee, hosted our annual Dashing Through December theme days, and this is for staff, with each day including a theme, which I need. Ugly Sweater Day, Coffee and Carols, the Rad Reindeer was on the loose, handing out treats, and much more. But the intention was to show gratitude to our amazing staff during a really challenging time of year. Jacobs Express took place on the 23rd. It was a Winter Wonderland theme, and I don't think the school could have felt any more magical as it did that day, as it does really every year. Some new additions this year include our door decorating contest for our 4th and 5th grade students, and hot cocoa for all second floor students. Kim Panetta's in the audience, president of the PTO. This was an event that she took on with help, certainly, but we made some great adjustments that I think were successful. And the life-sized Frosty the snowman in there, and the snowflake, I think there might have been something else, was actually built by the high schoolers in collaboration with Matt Tanner.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, of course, there were the traditional favorites, cookies and chocolate milk, reindeer games, and the volunteer carolers. And it was a great day. While our elementary students were partaking in Jacobs Express, our middle school was competing in our 3rd annual JMS Winter Steam Challenge, which was called Blizzard Blitz, Race to the Thaw, hosted by AI-generated Leon the Snowman. And that included robots, thermal engineering, art, problem solving, and teamwork. And this house challenge resulted in yet another greenhouse victory. In addition to these experiences, many of our grade levels were involved in field trips or visits from outside presenters. Our kindergarten class visited the Hull Public Library as a culminating experience for their nursery rhyme unit. And they also attended Hull High School for the performance of Once Upon a Mattress, providing exposure to live theater and storytelling. Our 2nd grade hosted the Mass Audubon Society for an in-school field trip with a day full of hands-on experiences focused on erosion. 3rd grade visited the Museum of Illusions, a visit that was a lot of fun, but also connected with their CKLA light and sound unit. Grade 4 went on their annual trip to the South Shore Arts Center in Cohasset. Grade 5 had 2 outside presenters visit, Top Secret Kids, which we've never brought in before, and they were great, where the students were exposed to weathering, hands-on experiments around weathering, and then also the Watershed Association presented for their annual visit. And then again, as Mrs. Jones mentioned, our 7th grade students attended the high school Winter Music Festival on Friday, with an intention of it being somewhat of a transition activity, just getting them in the high school as often as possible, and then also previewing some of the music offerings at the high school. So ultimately, there's a lot that happens at the Jacobs every day, inside and outside of the classroom. And they're all ingredients to what I think makes the Jacobs School special. However, and in addition, they all take a lot of work. And it starts with a thought, and then there's the planning, the execution, and the product. And as we transition to the second portion of the presentation, I'd like to, really highlight many of the people responsible for all that stuff that happens outside the classroom. Again, with our theme this evening being leadership. But before we kind of get to that, any questions on happenings?
I don't have a question, but I really loved the music trip that the 7th graders went up to the high school, and I love that they got to see it and experience it with the high schoolers instead of instead of just a show for them. They got to be with the high school.
Yeah,
I think that was really great.
I think they had a lot of fun too.
I think they did too.
Yeah. Okay. So the construct of leadership at the Jacobs School, in my opinion, has many prongs. Certainly, I consider myself responsible for it all, but in collaboration with so many others, many of whom you'll hear from momentarily. In 2015, Mrs. Capadonna asked me, as the assistant at the time, to start a student government. And since that time, our student council has served as leaders within our school, bringing us to our first guests of the evening. First, Mrs. Rajan.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Rajan, and I'm the assistant principal for grades pre-K through 3 at Jacobs School. I also have the privilege of serving as a student council advisor for our 4th and 5th grade students, who are the student leaders of our entire elementary school. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm truly proud to introduce our student council, our 4th and 5th grade students who represent all learners in pre-K through 5. At Jacobs, Student Council is not simply a club where students meet and talk. It's a place where students learn to lead with purpose, to listen to each other's needs and wants, advocate, collaborate, follow through, and problem solve. They help shape our school culture, improve the student experience, run major events, and represent Hall and Jacobs with pride. So tonight you will hear from our student leaders and how they work to make our school better for everyone. Please welcome some of our JDS Student Council members.
Hi, my name is Owen Bilodeau, and I'm in the 5th grade, and I'm one of the homeroom representatives. I wanted to be in the student council because I wanted all younger students to see me as a role model and inspire them to take a chance and run for student council when they are in 5th grade.
Hi, my name is Willa Britton, and I'm also in grade 5. I wanted to be in student council because I wanted to have a voice in our school and help make our school a better learning environment for everyone. We can't wait to see our impact on the school.
Hi, my name is Luke, and I am the treasurer. I wanted to be on student council because I wanted to help our school become a better educational and fun place. Being a school leader matters to me because school is where we spend so much of our lives. It is where we learn, but it is also where we learn to be a good person, how to be a good friend, and how to be part of a community. To me, leadership isn't about being the loudest. It's not about being in charge. It's about being someone other people can count on. It's about doing the right thing when nobody is giving you a reward for it. Sometimes leadership is big, like standing up in front of the school at an assembly. Sometimes leadership is small, like encouraging a kindergartner that looks nervous in the hall, or seeing someone that is sitting alone and deciding I am going to do what I can to help. And leading by example is a huge part of student council because younger students watch us. They notice how we act when we're excited, when we're frustrated, when we're tired, and even when we think no one is watching. Student council taught me something important. Leadership is not having ideas. It's listening, working with others, and following through.
Hi, my name is Jordan Dunn, and I'm the president. And I'm Willa Britton, the secretary. One of the biggest ways Student Council leads is through assemblies and our school-wide social-emotional learning focus. It's a difference between a school where students just show up and a school where students feel safe, known, and included. When students hear messages about kindness and respect from other students, it hits differently than from another grown-up. Each month at assemblies, we get to talk about something for us to work on as a school, something that will make a real difference. For example, this month we're launching a project we're really excited about, the Kindness Tree Project. The idea is simple but powerful. We're going to help students use kind words and kind actions. These acts will change our bare tree into a bright, colorful tree, just like kindness to each other brightens up our school. We led the last assembly on what kindness looks and sounds like, as well as the importance as being kind even in moments of frustration or if it's someone we do not get along with. Because the truth is, kindness spreads. When one person chooses kindness, it gives other people the initiative to do it too. Our goal is to make Jacobs feel like a place where every student can say, I belong here and I feel safe here. When students hear messages about kindness and respect from other students, it lands differently than when it comes from just another grown-up. At our assemblies, we help share a school-wide goal, something students can practice and that will make a real difference.
I'm Liam Palermo, and I'm the vice president.
Hi, I'm Owen Bilodeau, and I'm one of your classroom representatives.
Student council is also impactful because it works on improving the student experience, the parts of the day that the student feel the most. And we do it by listening to the students first. We use things like suggestion boxes because we want ideas from everyone, not just students who like speaking up. Some kids have great ideas, but don't want to raise their hand in the meeting or talk in front of adults. The suggestion box helps us hear those voices too. And when we hear something that matters to students, we don't just say, that's a nice idea. We ask, what would help the student feel happier, included, calmer, or more connected? After listening to the students over the past couple years, we work to implement as much as we can. We meet with staff members to explain why the change matters and do a lot of work to make it happen. We have to be problem solvers.
That is why we've supported real improvements at recess and lunch, a sensory pass to help students regulate and reset, basketball hoops so students have more ways to play and be included, a buddy bench because nobody should feel alone, adding more snacks and seltzer waters to the cafeteria, and adding recycling to the cafeteria. We also help improve school events so students feel excited to be a part of our community. For example, the Jacobs Express this year, we helped add things like door decorating and a dodgeball game. We want school events to feel like they have something for everyone, not just the same activities every year. Next, we will be talking about ways to improve on the readathon.
Hi, my name is Zephyr, and I'm a 5th grade homeroom rep. Another major way Student Council leads is by running and putting on school events like the talent show. And this is something we take really seriously because it's not just a show. It's a moment for students to feel brave and showcase hidden talents. For some students, performing is easy, but for other students, even signing up is scary. It takes courage to share your talent in front of people, and we want the talent show to be the kind of event where students feel supported, where they can take a risk and feel proud. Student Council helps plan and organize the whole thing. We help choose and support the host, we organize the judges, we help with the schedule, the flow, we have the stage runners and a lights crew. We make sure the students feel prepared and ready for the event. And the talent show is also a way we give back. We work to raise money for the school because we want our work to have a lasting impact beyond one day. The talent show brings our school together. Students cheer for each other. Teachers smile. Families feel proud. And for a moment, everyone feels connected. That's why we want Student Council to create moments where Jacob feels like one team.
We might not always be perfect, but we're trying to be leaders our school can count on. Thank you for having us tonight. We're proud to represent the pre-K through 5 students at Jacobs, and we're excited to keep leading by example this year. Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you. School committee members, questions and comments?
I mean, I just want to thank you for coming here. I know it can be a little nerve-wracking, but everything you each said was so motivating, especially as a school board member, as a parent, as a town member. I mean, the parent, you guys should be so proud of your kids. It takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing and to bring people together and hear your peers and to put that to paper. It's super commendable, and you should feel really good about yourselves. Thanks for bringing this tonight. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Very nice job. So with the start of our middle school model, we expanded student government to the middle school level. And Mrs. Scott serves as the JMS Student Council Advisor, and so I'll ask Mrs. Scott to come up and introduce her crew.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight I'm excited and proud to share our JMS Student Council model with you. I have the pleasure of introducing 2 members of our middle school student council who represent student leadership and student voice. Peyton Dunn, our JMS president. She has served on both the JES Student Council in 5th grade and JMS Student Council last year. And Reese Irby, our JMS vice president, who has served on the JES Student Council in 5th and JMS Student Council in 6th grade. Reese and Peyton, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Peyton Dunn, and I am a 7th grader at the Jacobs and the president of the JMS Student Council. Last year, I had the unique opportunity to serve on the first ever JMS Student Council. And tonight, Reese and I would like to share some initiatives our student council was especially passionate about. I'd like to start by explaining the model we use. The student council is made up of 4 officers: president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, along with 3 grade level representatives from both 6th and 7th grade. We meet bi-weekly after school. The day before each meeting, Reese, Miss Scott, and I meet during lunch to set the agenda, review student ideas, and decide what we'd like to focus on.
Good evening. My name is Reese Irby, and I'm also a 7th grader at Jacobs and the vice president of the Student Council. As student leaders, we help plan events, build school spirit, and make sure student voices are heard. We organize activities, listen to feedback from students, and work with teachers and administrators to turn ideas into action. As Peyton mentioned, we'll be sharing examples of what our student council worked on last year, along with a couple new ideas we're excited about for this year.
When our student council met for the first time last year, we all agreed on one goal. How could we make the middle school feel different from the elementary school? Our first step was creating something that would bring both students and staff together with a fun twist. In collaboration with Mr. Shaw and Ms. Scott, we created the JMS House Cup Challenge. This initiative has truly elevated our middle school experience by bringing students and staff together in a fun and competitive way. I know I can speak for myself. when I say many students are motivated to participate, whether through challenges, spirit days, or school-wide events.
Last year, we implemented digital suggestion boxes, and one idea we heard over and over from students was hats in the middle school. This initiative became a year-long process and something our student council is very proud of. While wearing hats might seem like a small change, it has a big impact on how students feel during the school day. Being allowed to wear hats has helped students feel more comfortable and able to express themselves.
This year, we are excited about the possibility of creating a legacy wall, where students can leave their mark on the school. We believe this will help build pride and a strong sense of belonging in the Jacobs.
Another idea we want to explore is finding ways to support not only our school community, but also the community we live in through meaningful fundraising opportunities. These fundraisers would allow us to donate to various local organizations and causes, helping us make a positive impact beyond our school walls.
Thank you for your time tonight. We hope you were able to provide a snapshot of student leadership and student voice at the middle school. We appreciate being included in these conversations and would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the school committee?
I'm just going to echo what Lily already said, that I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, and it's so brave to stand up and present in front of all of us, and well done, ladies.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton and Reese. Next up is our NJHS. These students are leaders within our school as well. There are 5 pillars of the National Junior Honor Society that guide their work, one being leadership. However, I'd argue that each pillar contributes positively to our school. I'm happy to introduce our NJHS school leaders to talk about the pillars and their roles as leaders. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Today we will be explaining the 5 pillars that were the base of our exception and what we have done as leaders in the National Junior Honor Society.
We, as Jacobs chapter of the National Junior Honor Society, are leaders in the school. All of our members show leadership. We all have taken charge of Jacobs' food drive and are planning to organize and lead the staff versus student basketball game in the future. We are leaders and role models to our peers.
One of the 5 pillars of the National Junior Honor Society is character. As a group, we believe character means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. It means being honest, respectful, and responsible in our actions every day. While grades show what we know, character shows who we are as people. By organizing events and activities to help our community, we show character goes beyond our school and into our community. Service also plays a big role in serving the title of being a National Junior Honor Society member. To provide service so far this year, we have helped out with the can drive. Currently, all of us are going around the school either helping the youth or cleaning up the classrooms. In the future, we are planning to help out with the Student First Teacher basketball game, as well as running a mitten drive that started today.
As part of NJHS, we show scholarship. The definition of scholarship is academic study or achievement, learning at a high level. All members have taken their education to the fullest potential, working to overachieve and exceed expectations. Some members of our chapter get their service by teaching younger students and being role models. Our scholarship traits help us to be able to do this for others. The members maintain their GPA above a 3.7 to be a part of this organization. These achievements show and represent the scholarship that the members strive for.
All members of the National Junior Honor Society are greatly involved citizens. We show citizenship in many ways. The majority of our members are involved in sports and other extracurricular activities, such as all of us today coming from a basketball practice. These get us not only involved in our community, but also well experienced in working in teams and groups. In our chapter of the NJHS, teamwork is what we do. As a team, we get a lot done for our school and are looking forward to all we can do in the future.
In closing, the 5 pillars of the National Junior Honor Society, scholarship, leadership, service, character, and citizenship, guide us as students and leaders in our school and community. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Questions and comments? Does one of you want to take a stab at a final comment for the last presenting group?
I'll thank you guys for coming in. Again, huge courage for stepping up and explaining everything that you guys do and accomplish. So you guys should be very proud of yourselves. Thank you.
Oh, wait, there's more.
One second.
Many
Hang on,
prongs.
we have one question.
Oh.
How many students are in the Junior Honor Society? 11, wow. And 3.7 GPA, huh?
Well, we need to see some of the boys next time. That's my only quip.
Yeah. And how many boys are on? 3. Yeah.
That's my
Well
son's
done,
one of
ladies.
them.
Yeah, well done. So as I mentioned, many prongs to the leadership here. So and so I moving on to the next prong. You know, I have to say the partnership that I've enjoyed over the last 4 years with HTA leadership, in particular, Maura Jones and Heather Weber as presidents, has been integral to the positive culture at the Jacobs School, as well as the union representatives. I know Lauren Snowdale is in attendance today somewhere. She is. But we also work with Brian Getchell and Ann Conley, and they're not here, but are also very much a part of one of those prongs. Our work together has been positive and productive, and something that I certainly greatly appreciate. Maura, do you have some words that you'd like to?
I do, actually. First, I just want to thank Mr. Shaw. I want to thank you for recognizing the role that the HTA leaders play in the school as an important piece of this leadership puzzle, and including us in this presentation. And to the school committee members, I could honestly talk for hours about how proud I am of the work that we've done over the last 4 years together, and the relationships that we built and the communication. So I'm not going to. If you would like to talk, we can do that another time, but I do have some notes. You do see some bullet points here on the slide, or there's some things that I want to just touch upon. But really, overall, what to see is like what you're witnessing right now and what you're experiencing. This is a perfect example of the relationship and the work that we have done, this collaboration between Kyle and Jess and Lindsay and Heather and I and our building reps that work at the building. It has really been positive and truly a great shift and a really great way to, you know, keep our culture and our school culture really positive and good working one. Mr. Shaw and I stepped into these roles, and Mrs. Weber, at the exact same time. We were elected to start in July of 2022, and I believe that was Mr. Shaw's first year in the role of principal. And right off the bat, I think at the time, Mrs. Weber was at the middle school working as the middle school co-president when it was open. And I think we were 2, maybe 3 weeks into the summer, and Mr. Shaw and I had sat down and met and discussed what our visions were and what our goals were as we took on these new leadership roles in our prospective places. And that communication, it started then and it worked through the summer. He shared with me a video before the end of the year that he was hoping to talk and share with the whole staff. And it was a really great opportunity to kind of give my perspective from the lens that I was looking at it and say, yeah, I think, and I thought the video was great off of the bat, but we're able to kind of say, hey, listen, like this is what we want to make sure that we share right up so that there's no confusion with what this bit means. And it leads us to the first bullet point, which is the Lion meetings. Every month, the HTA leadership and the building administration will meet to talk about anything that may be happening in the school. Initially, I would go to those meetings along with the building reps, and we would meet with Kyle and the assistant principals. And it was an opportunity, or still is an opportunity, to talk about things that may be, issues that may be arising that people may be confused about or unsure about, but also a really great opportunity to collaborate on some events. I think it was our first, maybe our second Lion meeting ever. First, the name Lion meeting was born because of that video, but also the staff turkey trot came to be. Kyle had shared that. This was his vision, this was his goal, this is something he wanted to do, but how could we work and make this happen together and make this be an event that was not just this is what Mr. Shaw says he wants to do, but that we're all kind of working together promoting. And when we do get together afterwards, we have awards that we give out that are Spirit Awards, just a nice way to kind of build morale and work together as a team, and have that relationship with colleagues outside of the hard work that we're doing within the classroom when it comes to education. But they're also an opportunity, if something's happening, to be able to get ahead of it and say, hey, is this what's going on? People are confused. But in those meetings, there's so much back and forth and open collaboration and communication that when information is then shared with all of the staff, everybody knows what it's about. So if a teacher comes up to any one of us in the building and says, hey, what did this mean? We know, and it isn't a moment where I have to say, let me get back to you, or one of our building reps has to get back to you. We already know, and we're able to really confidently share with all of our colleagues and our teachers what's going on and the plan. And it really has changed and shifted the way that information moves through the building. Gone are the days where if a union leader walks into an administrator's office, it's because there's a problem. It's not. It's a lot of times something really great is about to happen. So, up here we have updating staff regularly. It goes back and forth, between weekly memos from Kyle, Jess, and Lindsay. We know what we have to, what we need to know to be able to share that information with all of our colleagues. In that talk, like I said, we talk about positive things. We can talk about things that may be not positive, and we want it to fix that. But it truly is built on trust and this deep understanding that every single person in that room has the ultimate goal of making sure that the Jacobs School, is not only an amazing place for these incredible children to learn. I'm so proud of all of you. But also a really great place for people to come to work. And when people are happy at work, obviously really great things, it trickles down to our students too. In just under 2 weeks, many of the HGA executive board leaders will be going to a conference where we get some training from the MTA. And I can confidently say that when I sit at a table with leaders from other local associations and I share this presentation and the opportunity to share with you the union perspective and that we're considered important leaders at the Jacobs School, it will not be a common experience for many of the people that we're sharing the table with. This is unique and it's special, and like I said, I could talk for hours, but ultimately the most important thing is the communication and the collaboration and the relationship that we've been able to establish and build really has shifted so quickly. The work and the feeling of being at that Jacobs School, I'm proud of it. I'm proud that we get to work together, and I really am looking forward to hopefully many more years of really great relationship between all of us. So,
thank you. Any questions or comments about?
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful, yeah.
High compliments.
Yeah, thank you.
I need to invite you to speak more often. Thank you. All right, lastly, and to our students, this might be a little boring, but just bear with me for a few minutes. I want to just take the opportunity to talk about the administrative leadership structure at the Jacobs, being that it is unique, but in my opinion, it's essential to moving the pirate ship in the right direction. And as a former assistant principal for 7 years, I have a deep appreciation for the role. I believe it's misunderstood, especially in a small district where kind of the stereotypical job description is just like the disciplinarian. But I just don't think that does the job justice, at least not at our school. In the reality, the role really becomes what is necessary for the principal and the school, and in our case, I really lean heavily on the assistant principals. And when we went through the reconfiguration process, determining what the administrative model at the Jacobs would look like was a central focus. It was important to me that our 6th and 7th grade students experience something that felt different than their elementary experience, something that resembled and was a middle school structure. And I felt the same way about our staff coming over from Memorial. I felt it was important that they needed to experience it and feel that our structure was an actual middle school structure. And they needed to know that we were providing the right experience for students in preparation for high school. And so as the planning continued through reconfiguration, the need for 2 assistant principals became increasingly clear. But it wasn't really until our first year of reconfiguration that Mrs. Rajan and I truly realized how challenging creating and sustaining both a JES and JMS model would be without 2 assistant principals. And with the team in place at the beginning of last year, I think we've been able to continually refine and strengthen this model, making subtle tweaks daily. So just to kind of go through as quickly as I can. Our number 1 priority as a leadership team is the evaluation of staff. With the model, Mrs. Rajan supports and evaluates 24 staff members on the first floor, while Mrs. Scott supports and evaluates 20 staff members on the second floor, which allows me to evaluate all the non-tenured staff, which is a significant responsibility given the volume of observations and evaluations that are required for non-tenured staff. Along those same lines, staffing, hiring, which is, of course, an important process, one of the most important. Historically, our social workers served as 504 coordinators. However, as the level of student need has grown, this important but time-consuming responsibility was pulling them from direct services to our students. And so for that reason, our assistant principals have assumed the role of 504 coordinators, which has increased their workload but provided more time for our social workers to work with students. Along those same lines, identifying students who need support is the first step in providing support. And so each floor has a student assistance team, an SAT team, chaired by Mrs. Scott and Mrs. Rajan. And during weekly meetings, teams discuss individual students who may need support and develop action plans to meet their needs. I believe this structure ensures that no students slip through the cracks. These teams also monitor attendance, and they can conduct outreach as needed, which has contributed to our strongest attendance rate last year in many years. And we're on pace for an even stronger year this year. In addition to the 504 meetings scheduled each week, our assistant principals also attend student intervention team meetings, chaired by Mrs. Capadonna. And many of those referrals come from the SAT team. And this work, again, ensures no students slip through the cracks. One of the most complex responsibilities is the daily coordination of sub-coverage and management of substitute staff. And while it might sound simple, it is critical. Placing the right substitute in the right classroom every day. And this job usually starts in the middle of the night, early morning, and then doesn't end until the next evening, and then it just continues day after day after day. Our assistant principals also plan assemblies, which you've already heard about today, but I do believe that brings our community closer together. Our assistant principals help with staff meetings. One of my goals this year was to elevate our impact on the time, staff's time. So an example of that, instead of having every staff meeting pre-K through 7, we've started to do some split staff meetings. It's hard to engage teachers in preschool and in 7th grade in the same meeting. And so we've started to do some split staff meetings where I'll take the elementary, and Mrs. Scott, with Mrs. Rajan and Mrs. Scott can take the middle school, and then we'll flip. Discipline. let's see. This is, of course, the stereotypical role, but it's work that begins first thing in the morning as students get off the bus, and that goes into the evening with family communication. And the time investigating concerns, understanding all perspectives, and determining appropriate consequences or supports is very challenging. It's not easy. Every child and family requires and deserves to be heard, and each case is always different. And we spend a great amount of time thinking about all of those things. We take great pride at the Jacobs in our enriching opportunities, many of which take place outside the regular school day, and our assistants play a role in all of them. Events such as the Talent Show, Pajama Story Hour, Bike to School Day, the Readathon, Literacy Week, MCAS Game Plan, JMS House Cup Challenge, Jacobs Express. I have many more, but I'm going to stop. All events that the assistants have a hand in and make the Jacobs School special. MCAS, juggernaut. Meetings, trainings, schedulings, webinars, portal setups. Again, I have a long list. I'm going to stop. A lot of work, especially when testing 5 grade levels simultaneously. And I believe that we pull it off with as limited a distraction as possible. I'm almost done. We're striving to achieve that 75th percentile by the state. We want to be in the top third of the state. And instructional leadership remains a driving force to get there. And hiring 2 literacy experts, and Mrs. Rajan and Mrs. Scott, has been a major support, as has the ongoing CKLA training they attend and they share. And this knowledge comes in handy during our grade level meetings, department meetings, and our preparations for those. After school chaperones, concerts, ceremonies, theater productions, orientations, these are all really fun things that we love, but the assistants are involved in all of those. Staff morale, Mrs. Jones talked a little bit about that. We want teachers to feel supported, valued. We want them to be happy to come to work, enjoy coming to work, and so we do try to plan little things for staff as often as possible. Dashing Through December is an example. We split the year into 9 innings, and we try to do something fun on each inning. Delivering treats to the classroom, offering after-school yoga, trivia, turkey trot, things like that. The list is long and almost always coordinated by the assistants. And then there's scheduling, which is a jigsaw puzzle, especially when blending 2 different structures. But then beyond that, there's scheduling every day for professional development, curriculum work. Scheduling is one of those ingredients that aren't really thought much about, but makes a huge impact. I know I'm missing a lot, and I'm not even getting into the holes that are plugged in the pirate ship every day and the fires that are put out every day. But wanted to touch upon the job of our assistant principals, as I believe we're stronger because of the model and the work that they do. So to close, I've been in a leadership role at the Jacobs School for 11 years now, and I've made an effort to surround myself with people who bring different strengths and perspectives than my own, and include as many others, students and staff, as necessary in decision-making to make sure that the Jacobs is the best community that it can be. And the great thing about working in this field of education, and certainly at the Jacobs School, is everyone has the same goal. We want to make the experience within the 4 walls of our pirate ship the best it can be. And it's my belief that we are better when all of our leaders, all those prongs, students, staff, union, admin, have a voice. And I'm proud of where we are as a building and look forward to continuing this strong partnership with our leaders you heard from tonight moving forward.
Thank you. Matt. Mr. Shaw, thank you so much, and fantastic to hear all of the updates and pieces that you shared. I just would quickly, before I lose the mic, echo everything that you've said about your fantastic assistant principals. Arguably the hardest job in the entire building, in a lot of ways. I'm sure you're a peach to work for. Don't misunderstand. I just know that it can be a challenge.
Called a
so.
peach before.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Shaw before he takes his seat?
I think the kids, you know, I probably shouldn't call them kids, but everybody who stood up here tonight were a testament to your hard work, the assistant principals, all the teachers, everybody involved in the buildings. The thing that I think about is, you know, there was a few years where we're talking about amalgamation of the three schools into two, and now that's happened. Is there any asks you have, or any kind of like, oh, I wish I knew that before we kind of set off on this journey, or anything that you need help with?
I'd have to think about it. It's still a whirlwind thinking about the whole reconfiguration process, but I feel settled now. It took a while, but I feel like we've settled in, and that's a good feeling. But I'll think about that, Brendan. Thank you.
I think it helps to have the right players in place. I think that's really been, I've seen it grow. I've seen the consolidation. You've had the right, it just kind of worked out in the right way. The students, the teachers, the families, the leadership. So congratulations, and you both are fabulous to work with. I've worked with you myself. So yeah, it's great. This is really nice. I know there's a lot on your plate, so if you two need anything, let us know.
Students, again, thank you so much. It takes, as Ms. Hedrick said, it takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of a group. I just want to echo one thing that was said tonight. I think Luke said it, about leadership not being the loudest voice, but being the person that you can count on and doing the right thing when no one's looking. I have zero doubt that you all are on track to demonstrate that every day, and it's really fantastic. You are absolutely the embodiment of leadership. So thank you for taking your time tonight, and thank you for having the courage to share and the insight to think about what to say. It was really, really insightful. So thank you.
And thank you to all the families for bringing the kids here tonight. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Will they be old enough to attend the leadership conference in Paris?
Yeah, right.
Oh, just kidding. Never mind.
Well, wouldn't some of them?
I think the seventh graders.
I think it's.
Yes.
I think you might be eligible. Can we math that? I thought it was just 8.
We have a leadership council at the high school that is going to Paris and Prague.
It's next year.
In 2 years. A year. It's not.
It's in 2 years.
It's in 2 years. So that's what we're discussing, is whether some of the 7th graders will be eligible. So start
I
packing.
got something in the mail. Was it in the mail or an email? I can't remember.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your oldest.
Thank you. 14 next week.
So an 8th
He's in
grader.
8th grade, yeah.
Okay, so
I think the 8th grade, it's
Yeah, I think you're right. I was talking to a friend of mine, my best friend, actually the girl I met my wife through, whose mother was also my English and history teacher. Thank you. That was our chat over a cup of tea. How do you even do that?
Yeah, just push them.
Ah.
You have to hold it. This is one of my favorite traditions, one of the many.
Yeah, we love that too.
All right, so next up, we have Ms. Weber, who's going to talk about the overnight field trip to Nature's Classroom. She'll give you all the details on the program and what is being proposed. And I think we need a vote tonight on approving the field trip. So, Ms. Weber, take it away.
All right, well, good evening. I'm Heather Weber, a grade 6 science teacher. I'm actually here on behalf of my whole team. Nature's Classroom is something we've gone for the past 4 years, and in the past, before my time, I think they did a few whole week sessions So this will be our 5th year, and we just thought that it probably is a good time. We haven't given a presentation before and kind of give an overview of what we're doing and why it's so awesome. So here I am. If we were to go this year, we would go from June 8th to June 10th. That is the last week of school. We'd come back and there would be 1.5 days left. We have attended Nature's Classroom at the Hilltop site every year, and that's located in Charlton, Mass. It's about a 2-hour bus ride to get there. So what is Nature's Classroom? It's a unique educational program designed for students and teachers. Teachers learn a lot as well. Its goal is to create an educational community that blends student-driven exploration, interdisciplinary learning, and social development. Many of the students haven't been away without their families before, so it's really a great experience for them, whether, they're often very nervous, but usually come home smiling, and I'm very proud that they were able to do it. It's structured intentionally to connect what we teach in school, and it's reinforcing key concepts through real-life learning. It's a lot of fun, but safety is definitely their priority and our priority as well. Students are always under adult supervision, 24 hours a day. The groups are small student-to-teacher ratios, which supports safety, but that also allows for personal growth and individualized attention. There's often a few extra staff that are just hadn't left yet from a previous week, and they stick around, and they're often really helpful. If there's a student that just needs some time away from the group, they'll take that student under their wing and maybe take a walk or just sit and talk and let them relax a little bit before they join the group again. Nature's Classroom staff, they're all professional educators, and they come with a variety of academic backgrounds and interests. They're really, the staff are very engaging. They all have different personalities. Most of them are quite funny, and they really reel the kids in. So with this trip, it's a 3-day trip. We get there just before lunchtime on the first day, so that would be Monday. This year is showing just a sample schedule. The design of it is very purposeful and it's consistent, so they follow the same schedule each day. When we get there, students take their things off the bus. We've already chosen their rooms for them, and the staff there know where they are, and they just dump their stuff. They practice a fire drill, get to know their leaders, play a game, and then we go to lunch. And at lunch, we eat, obviously, but there's a lot of other stuff that happens at mealtime. There's learning happening there as well. Each day there's a specialized lesson, whether it be on conservation of food or talk about climate change. There's always some sort of interactive activity. And after lunch, we have what's called transition time. There's several transition times, and that's when the teachers, the whole teachers, hang out with the kids so that the Nature's Classroom staff can get ready for the next activity. And that afternoon, they'll have their first class, they'll have another transition time, they'll have a second class, and I'll go deeper into what those classes are. And then dinner time, and then there's an evening activity, and we don't get back to the dorms until like 8:45, 9 o'clock, so it's a big day. Next day, we're waking students up between 7 and 7:30 for breakfast, and they'll have their first field group. and just continue alternating the transition time with their classes. And then the last day, they'll just have field group in the morning. We'll have lunch, and then we'll head home to try and get back for dismissal. Well, we will get back for dismissal. All right, so a little bit about each one of these classes. In the morning, they'll have a field group, and the students already know before they go who's going to be in their group. They have some choice as well. They make a list last year we waited to the last moment because friend groups tend to switch around a little bit. So they chose 10 people that they would want to be with, and we guarantee that they would have at least a few of those students. There's usually a lot more. But in this field group, they focus on teamwork, critical thinking, and learning ecological concepts in nature. So each group, they go out in the woods somewhere, they hike, then they'll stop and talk, find critters, learn how to build shelters, all sorts of things. It depends on who their field group instructor is. They investigate natural phenomena and relationships, and that's the kind of science learning we want them to do because that's what they're going to remember. Just some pictures of the outdoor spaces during transition time. There's a huge Gaga pit that they love to play in. There's basketball courts, there's a soccer goal, but there's just a lot of grassy areas where they can sit and talk and read or draw. There's a big rock that they love to hang out on, and there is a pond, but no swimming, just we have nets. We can look for frogs and fish and things. There's about 600 acres of land there. It's really quite an expanse. And then in the afternoon, they have their special interest classes, which allows for student choice and hands-on learning. When they're in their field group in the morning, their leader will tell them what classes are being offered and give them some details so that when they sign up for these, they can make an informed decision. There are 2 classes every afternoon. They do range in disciplines. They increase engagement and ownership. They're hands-on and planned with classroom teachers to reinforce curriculum content. So before we go, I speak with the director, and there's an enormous list of different courses that they can teach. Some of it depends on the staff there and what their expertise is, but there's a lot of choices, and we try to relate it as much as possible to our curriculum. And each day the selection changes, so they do different classes each day. These are just some examples of different classes that they've taken part in. Fire starting happens every year. They learn how to use flint and get the spark going. And then of course they have to cook marshmallows, but they have a lot of fun with that. One year they built a rope bridge that they were able to, they kept it up while we were there, and the kids could practice walking on it. Another year they built a geodome, and the wood that they used to create this geodome was from another class where they learned how to fell trees using a saw and finding the direction that it was going to land in. So they do really fabulous things. There's always some sort of art class offered. Ecology. Ethan's got a little toad there. He was very excited to hold. STEM challenges. And there's one teacher who's very engaging. He's got quite a sense of humor. And he hosts these classes. One class is called Spuds, and the other class is called The Whole. And this teacher has a very eclectic academic background. He's incredibly intelligent. So he takes the simple concept of a potato and digging a hole and brings in all sorts of areas of science. With the potatoes, they were learning how to carve, and they made faces, but with that, he's talking to them about ancient civilizations. I think he has a lot of theology courses, so he was talking about, totems and spirits and whatnot, and they had a blast with that. And then this whole class, he's literally digging a hole, and there's tons of geology involved in this because they're looking at the rocks and taking some of the rocks and building the cairns and whatnot, but they use different like simple machines on how to use pulleys to get the buckets out, and he just takes it and runs with it, and he's built on it every year. The students really love him. And in the evening, we have a large group activity. It's really nice community building. We've done all sorts of different things for the evening program. We've done team challenges. We did a talent show one year. We often do like a science fair where they do get involved with different experiments and they rotate. All sorts of things. Lots is happening, but the key is that everyone shares the experience together. And then last thing at night before we go back to our dorms, there's a group sing where the staff play instruments and they have lyrics to the songs up on the board, and all the kids sing together if they want to. They serve a snack, and it's a fabulous experience. They do have medical support 24 hours a day. It says here, when I read on their site, they have an RN, an EMT, or other medical personnel. Every year we've been there, it's been an RN, and they've been fabulous. We have dormitory-style lodging, which I'll show you on the next page. It supports independence, but it's structured and supervised. There's 2 dorms. There's an east dorm and a west dorm. They're identical. They're just these long buildings with rooms on either side of a narrow hallway. And each room has 2 sets of bunk beds. There's a sink in the room, and then behind the door there's a toilet and the shower. So each set of 3 or 4 students has their own bathroom. And they're clean and neat, as you can see. At night, they're tired, but we do manage to have a little bit of fun. You see Aubrey there. She brought her bed out into the hall for a little team meeting. She looks tired, though. Meals, I touched on meals already. The food is wonderful. They serve all of the food. They can accommodate any diet that you say that they have. I tell them ahead of time. The kids really like the food. When we're at meals, it's part of the learning and the community building as well. They're all assigned a table, and they sit with that group of people throughout their stay. And there's extra seats because the staff and both Nature's Classroom and us, we just rotate and sit with different groups at all the different meals and have conversation. The meals are family style. Each meal, one student from the table has a job. They're called a waitron. They go early to help set up. During the meal, they are the ones that go and get the food and make sure everybody has what they need. And then at the end, they do a great job gently teaching students about food waste. And we have to separate trash and compost and what they call ORT, which is food waste, and bring it to separate places. And at the end of the meal, there's an ORT bucket, and they show us how much food was left over. And then it sets up the challenge to kind of reduce that at every meal. And the message is eat as much as you want. They can have seconds, but just don't put too much on your plate. So I like that lesson. There's dancing involved in this. Students can stand up and say one of their favorite things for the day, and they have to answer a silly question. They stand up on that little elevated stand there, and it's a good time. That bottom picture is another open space where we have, we do the large group in the evenings. The stairs, that's where we meet on the outside of the building before every class, and the instructors come and get the students. And so with all that, great 3 days, but its long-term impact is incredible. Students consistently return from Nature's Classroom with increased independence, stronger peer and teacher relationships. We had one year where it seemed like students just really didn't want to go. We were nervous. We thought it would be tough. It was a few years ago, and they came back and said it was the best thing they've ever done. So, and it's, gives us lasting memories, both teachers and students. And I think it gives them a deeper appreciation for learning, deeper appreciation for the outdoors, and community. These benefits carry back into school and beyond, improving student confidence, collaboration, and engagement. And I'd just like to thank you from the grade 6 community for your time and consideration in approving this field trip. I'd also really like to thank the PTO and the district for helping with funds to make this possible. And I'm finished, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. School committee?
I love this field trip.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just make a comment. I think it's great. Both of my daughters have gone on this trip, very apprehensive at first, right? But I think it's a great experience for them with the no phones, having to work through social issues, and actually, just being in the moment. So I
Yeah.
think it's huge. It's a great
I love
experience
it.
for all the
You
kids.
do see them grow.
Yeah.
The no phone thing really
Mhm.
makes them nervous, but they leave and they're not asking for, last year they didn't ask for their phones at all while they were there.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's a good test for the parents too, because you don't hear from them.
Yeah, and it's a good break
kinda
for the
scary.
parents as well.
Yeah.
And we tell them that, we have phones. If there's a student that really needs to say goodnight to their parent, just to have that check-in, we make that happen.
Move to, are we going to take a vote?
Yeah, any other discussion?
I would like to make the motion to approve the field trip
Go for it.
because I love it that much that I would like
I'll
it to
second it.
continue. I wish
I
you
love
could
it.
let my first kid go because she missed it.
Okay, a motion made by Eliza and seconded by Brendan. All those in favor of approving the Nature's Classroom field trip, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous. We couldn't be more excited to support.
Thank you very much.
Also, I know it's not easy to sleep away with that
I know.
many students, so thank you for doing it and for your whole team for doing it. It's not like an easy weekend away for you, and I know that.
I have a lot of my own children, so it's really not much different.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have the discussion and hopefully the approval of the school calendar for next year. I know this got sent out to everybody in advance. I just want to provide a little bit of overview of some of the thought that goes into the development of the calendar, and just point out a few key things for next year. This year, we're actually on track to end pretty early. So right now, the last day is June 12th. So that means that we'll be able to, again, pending no snow days or weather delays or other events that delay school, we'll be out on Friday the 12th, and that will kick everybody off to an early start to the summer. In fact, it'll still be spring on on the day that we end up, right? Technically. This calendar presented a few more challenges because it is the latest that Labor Day can be on September the 7th. And so trying to get the right rhythm as to when to start was a challenge for us. So a couple of things that I want to point out. The MIAA is starting off all fall sports on Monday, the 24th of August. And so for many of our students and families, that's sort of the end of summer vacation, if you would, because once we're going to double sessions with football and other activities, families need to be here for students to be able to engage. So that's an important date that I sort of pay attention to in trying to figure out the right rhythm to this. The next thing to point out is that we do have 2 days with our staff before school starts. And so, and we can't begin more than a week prior to Labor Day. So we then anchor on Monday, the 31st of August as our first PD convocation day to welcome everybody back. And Tuesday, which is September 1st, is also the primary day. And so we're going to have people voting here at the high school on that day. So bringing students in on the first day with all that activity taking place didn't make a lot of sense. So that's our second PD day to make sure that we're able to have the public in the building. We'll still have staff development that's going on that day, but students won't be back in the building. And then we would have the first day for students on the 2nd of September, and the 3rd of September would be the second day. So we'll get 2 days of school in, and then we'll have the 4-day weekend for Labor Day. So that's sort of the rhythm and the reason for why the start of the year is structured the way it is. The rest of the year is relatively straightforward with the typical holidays where they fall, the time that we take at Thanksgiving, at the winter holidays, and New Year's, and then let's see, there was one other date I want to anchor on is November the 3rd. You'll notice that that is our third PD day of the year. It's a little bit earlier. We've been having the PD day tailored to the Martin Luther King weekend, sort of in the middle. Here we brought it forward. I'm anticipating a large turnout for the midterm elections, and that will also be a day that we probably don't want to have students in our building. We really want to turn it over to the voters and the political activities that will be taking place on that day. And so that, because the voting does take place here at the high school, that's a good PD day for us so that we can properly share the space with our community. And then the last thing I'm going to bring you to is that with all of that and the startup, we end up finishing on June 17th, which is like a full week later than what we did this year. And, you know, so June 17th would be the last day. And there's another little kind of sticky piece in this, because Juneteenth is falling on a Saturday. So the federal holiday will be observed on Friday the 18th because of the holiday on the weekend. But one snow day event kicks us into the next week. So one cancellation of school means that we're coming back on Monday, June 21st. And that is summer. And so, again, when you put all these moving parts together and present a calendar, there's a lot of compromises that go into it, a lot of things to consider. You know, we will, I'm sure, hear from some families who want us to start after Labor Day. Starting after Labor Day takes those 2 days up front and tacks them right on to after Juneteenth. It guarantees then that we're going on the 22nd, and then every snow day is the 23rd, 24th, and so forth. So, you know, cutting in the summer happens on both ends of the calendar. And so we feel like, and what the feedback we're getting from staff is the 2 days to sort of get oriented, to get settled in. You know, we've got staff back for 2 days. We have students in the building for 2 days. Labor Day weekend comes, and then we really hit the ground running after that. So it's been a great kind of ease into the year. And so that's what's reflected in this calendar. So I'll pause there. I'll look at Maggie because a lot of work goes into this, also coordinating with other districts. we're looking at some possibilities. So this is very preliminary, but possibilities of shared PD with neighboring districts and looking if there are some ways that we can, have our staff being able to interact at a different level than what we've done in the past. But this sort of reflects what is happening in our region also, so.
And also the 2 early release days are also, in case we can do something with the surrounding towns.
Attempting to coordinate with neighboring districts on those days also. So those are,
For PD or for just early release in general?
PD if we can swing it.
Okay.
And again, it's very preliminary conversation, but you can't do it if you don't have the same days. When you have the same days, that facilitates that dialogue.
And you've received feedback from the staff and teachers that they prefer the ease in before Labor Day?
Well, I'm going to look to Maura.
As
Yes.
the representative for all the teachers.
Very much so. What Dr. Jetty had mentioned, we do those 2 days. It's a really great way to come in off of a summer, and actually this is going to be, presuming we don't have any snow days, it's going to be a long summer with Labor Day falling the way it is, and it really is a nice way to get the kids back into school, really start establishing routines and structures with our new classroom community, and then we are able to really just get going, get some of that preliminary stuff out of the way, I guess, as we move on to, really kicking off the year. It is a nice way for the kids to ease into it after having that time off. It's a nice way for the teachers to have that continuity where we have those 2 days working together with the PD and the convocation, and then we get to, start working with our students.
And then a break.
And then it is nice, that 4 days is nice, because it's a long summer for us too, to be able to get back into a routine. So, yes, actually, and it's September at this point anyway, so. Starting, teachers, my personal opinion is it's hot in June, at the end of June, and it's really hot in August, the beginning of September. But at the end of August, beginning of September, we are refreshed, we've had a nice summer, we're ready to get started, and there's that excitement of getting to meet our new students. So it's a lot easier to kind of manage that heat and that temperature, and the same for our students than it is when everybody's tired and the year is winding down, and they're ready to go on to the next adventure. So yes, it is appreciated.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Why do we take maybe you said this and I missed it, Mike, but why do we take the 4th off? Why do we take the Friday of Labor Day off?
So I think that's sort of a compromise to families that, coming back before Labor Day still allows the 4-day weekend if they're headed to go camping or, that one last hurrah of the summer. So it does provide that 4-day weekend. I think the fear is if you don't have that, people are going to try to beat the traffic. If they're headed somewhere, they're going to do something. So that's been, it's actually pretty typical to what I saw in previous districts in my career also, that the 4-day weekend, for the district I was in for 23 years, that was the Hopkinton Fair weekend. So you didn't want to mess with kids and their, showing their animals at the fair. So there's always a reason why that Friday just sort of fits together.
And did we start before Labor Day this year?
We've started before Labor Day the last
Yes.
2 years.
The only,
2 years,
the
or-
only time we start after is if it's on the 1st or maybe 2nd. Anything after that is.
We started end of August.
So that was kind of a trade-off too. To start before, but have the 4 days in case people have vacation plans.
I'm a vociferous opponent to starting before Labor Day, typically. But when it starts to go into September, you're like, yeah, I'm back from Europe, back to school. The evening's going to get short in a month or two. I think it looks good based on how Labor Day is falling and what you need to accomplish. And I would say I do really like your late starts when there is a snowstorm, because by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, usually everything's cleared up and you guys don't end up giving up a day, but, still have school. So I'm a huge, a proponent of it this year, but other years where it's way back before, when we're back in August, I'm like, no, please, this is awful. So just for future reference.
I've always been curious why the Jacobs dismissal is always on some random Wednesday.
So
instead of,
actually,
a gift of a Monday or a Friday.
Yeah, that's contractually driven, I believe.
is
It states in the
It says
contract
Wednesday?
as the last Wednesday of each month, I believe is the language.
I believe, but I don't know if I know that it's built into the contract as Wednesdays, but one of the reasons that it is Wednesdays, I believe, is because we don't have preschool on Wednesdays, so it's not
Oh, I see.
impacting the preschool schedule.
I understand.
Because that would be, if we did that, that would mean our preschoolers were only in school 3 days a week because they would have it
Right, they're
that day.
teachers,
So
yes, I understand.
it is, I believe, it is possibly in there as Wednesday, but I think the initial goal was it's Wednesday because that's what works for our preschool schedule and making sure that our students, pre-K through, are getting all of
I
the.
think that would be a really nice PR thing to just tell families, because as a non-committee member, I've always wondered why I couldn't just have a long weekend for your PD. Sorry, selfishly. But I think that would be good information to tell people, like, the why.
It's a perfect example of the fact that, you know, and I got a really nice, very respectful parent email that spoke, you know, to her concern about not wanting to come back until after September. But this is a perfect example. Like, nothing is happening randomly in our schools. A lot of thought and a lot of moving pieces have gone into it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would encourage anyone to reach out if they have questions about these dates, but to maybe just assume the best, that it's not just some random decision. Lily, did you have something to say?
Personally,
For sure,
schedules
random
them,
is
but
not
no,
appropriate.
that, I've heard that, trust me, you're not the only one.
My thought was always that, you know, I feel for people who work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and how difficult that is for childcare, is what I've always thought. But if it's, I mean, it's a very good reason that you pointed out, so.
Lily, did you have a comment?
I'm just so grateful for bringing up the starting after Labor Day fact that I've been fighting for too, but this makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
So thank you for the extra Friday. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Kicking stuff over
And,
here.
you know, I come back to, I mean, currently with students in 8th grade here at the high school, 7th grade have access to athletics. That MIAA decision as to when they start tryouts and start the season, that does come to bear on this, because we've got a great, and this is an athletic town. We know that we have a number of students, a high percentage that participate. So, you know, when they declare across the Commonwealth that the season is starting, that's also sort of signaling that the summer is coming to an end or winding down. So it's something we have to pay attention to in looking at this. And I think that's always going to be before Labor Day. I think it's going to help to drive some of this, but we'll
think
keep that going.
Sports it's always before Labor Day,
I-
end of August.
I think so.
Yeah.
Especially football.
You know,
That's not the only driving factor.
not the only
Yeah,
driving,
let's
but
be mindful of that.
No, but a key consideration for those families, they shift into another gear, right? So that is a factor that summer has ended, if you would. And, you know, Maura said what I always said when I didn't live in a beach community, which is a beach day in June is not the same as a beach day in August. And in terms of the energy, the excitement, you know, so it shifts and changes based upon where it occurs in the year.
Courtney, anything from you?
No, well, I guess, yes. I do appreciate the thought that goes in behind it, and I do see, and hear and understand both sides of it. Obviously, you know, personally, I'm on one side of it, but I do appreciate, you know, other families that are, that have students that do not participate in athletics, because I do think that, you know, that does matter and does have weight. But I do think that hearing feedback from the teachers and the students is also a huge piece of it. You know, I mean, certainly I am not a teacher, nor would you ever want me to be in those classrooms, in the front of those classrooms? I'd maybe last a day, maybe half a day. But I think the kids they're done, they're checked out, right, in June. And I think that the teachers are as well, right? And it's better off just getting into a routine, a couple days, and then you have a handful of days off, and then you're back into the thing full swing again. So that's my 2 cents.
Right.
I
Any
have
other discussion?
I
Elisa?
wonder, so when I look at the schedule and it says things like 90-minute early release, as a person who doesn't actually know exactly when school ends, could that time be put on the calendar? Like, instead of saying 90 minutes early, could it just say dismissal at X time?
Except that it's 2 dismissal times, so it's, you have to.
Many
but
of
we-
them are, one of them says HE, which is the high school, and then one of them says JE, which is the elementary school. So they actually have different symbols already. And in this code, which is the box on the bottom right, instead of saying HE, 90-minute early release,
I
it could
gotcha.
say the time.
Yeah, because like right under JE, it says 90, JE is 90-minute early release.
Correct, there's
Um,
a JE and a, but it,
But then JD is Jacob's 11:55
which
dismissal.
is not 90 minutes early release, it's a
No.
different type of early release.
Yes.
Which is why I'm suggesting.
But we can be consistent in explaining a JE is 90 minutes, which is this time. We can figure that
Yeah,
out.
and just instead of saying 90 minutes, just say what time it is, don't make us math.
Don't make us mad.
And time math is very different.
Right.
So,
It is. It's a whole different type of math. I'm joking, but it really does make it easier when you look at the calendar and you can see what time it actually ends, especially when you're juggling 2 different schools.
Are you referring to this specific calendar?
I'm saying this is an issue I've had with the
No,
calendar
I know.
forever, because
yeah.
it's always said
Right.
that. Why? When it could easily say the dismissal time versus how many minutes they're getting shorted.
I think you would be surprised at how few people look at this calendar, but maybe that's just me.
I personally look at this about 10 times a year. I Google this from everywhere. You'd be surprised how many times I actually Google this calendar.
I live and breathe this document.
I do. I should print it out
Let me
and put
get
it
out
on my
my
fridge.
paper calendar, I'll show
So
you.
thank you to whoever does the
Okay.
calendar.
So are we prepared to move forward with, is there a motion to accept or deny?
I'll make
this?
that motion to accept the calendar.
I'll
Lily
second it.
votes, makes a motion to accept the 26-27 academic calendar. Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks, Brendan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It is unanimous, and we do appreciate community feedback, and, yeah, just want to name that.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, the next item is on international students. I just want to share with the school committee an idea that I have and am planning to plug ahead with. I was hoping to have a little bit more finite detail tonight, but I was not able to connect with a coordinator on this. But in my previous life as a high school principal, we always accepted international students to attend our school. The school committee had put a limit of 5 on the number that we could have, and it was a regional district, so they tried to spread them out between the various towns to make sure that there was some the ability for each town to host a international student was kind of consistently applied. When I arrived here in Hull, I asked about international students and learned that we haven't had one in anybody's recent memory. And so I thought this would be a nice way to bring some diversity into the school, to have students from around the world who are here studying. And so I reached out to an agency that does this work. They do all the work for us. So they make sure that the students apply, go through a vetting process, have the appropriate visa to be able to come in and to study in the U.S. for a year. Sometimes they're called exchange students, but that takes a while to build up what I think is an exchange, which is Hull students being able to go overseas, right? So these are students who are coming to the U.S. for half a year or a year to study in our schools. And really the ask on the community is an ability to embrace their presence and to make sure that there are families who are willing to host and have these exchange students stay with us in the community. I think Hull is kind of ripe for this because my perception is there are a lot of empty bedrooms that are in the community, so we would have an ability for families who have current students here to host. I think that's a great experience to have an exchange brother or sister in the home. I think the other are empty nesters who perhaps would be looking to have somebody stay with them. And honestly, any student internationally who looks up Hull on a map is going to say, that's a great location, right? So the ability to access Boston, many are coming because they're sort of understanding the American secondary college system. And so again, this is a great location for us to be. So So I just wanted to kind of inform the board that this is my idea, and I'm plugging ahead with it unless there's some reason why tapping the brakes makes sense. I don't know that there's an ask of the board because we don't have a policy, there's not anything that really sort of talks about this. If a student is living here, we're gonna educate them, but it is actively seeking host families to be able to then accept students into the school, so.
What's the time frame that you're thinking?
So typically, if we're looking to have students here in September, we're gonna begin the process now of searching for host families.
Oh, so you're talking about this upcoming
I'm
September?
talking about next September.
Okay.
And again, I have in my mind 5 as a kind of a great way to sort of test pilot this. I reached out to PHI, I met with the PHI officers last week, and my ask of them was to sort of serve as ambassadors, right? So junior arrives from Germany and plunks down here into Hull. We know we have a very close-knit community, right? We know the students have been together all along. Somebody has to embrace welcoming that student, making sure that they get off to a good start with us. And so PHI is willing to serve in that capacity to sort of assist. I think ultimately, we're a very, very welcoming community. I think it'll be perfectly fine, but if I just wanted to make sure there was a student group who was willing to sort of foster that welcome, if you would. So they're gonna serve in that role.
I have experience with exchange students. I hosted them from age 12 up through the time I graduated. I still have a close relationship with 2 of them. It was a really positive experience in my family, just getting to meet people from around the world and, finding out what else there was besides Idaho, where I grew up. And I'm really excited that you're bringing it to Hull.
So I feel like we used to have this here a long time ago. I don't know if, not that it matters, but I remember being younger in maybe 6th, 7th, 8th grade, being up in this high school in 7th grade, and the older siblings of my friends were probably juniors and seniors, and their parents did host exchange students. So I know that it has been here before, so I think it's great.
Awesome.
Obviously, I have tons of questions, but, I'm sure that will come when you connect with the agency, so.
If it's done right, there'll be like local reps, there'll be activities for the exchange students from across the South Shore to get together on weekends and do stuff also. So, I've seen this really be a very positive experience for them. So it's great to know that I couldn't believe it had never been here. I'm like, I would think somebody had hosted, so Maura's nodding also.
I remember, I was probably some of my classmates who you were friends with, because I do remember having, I remember one specific girl from Belgium that was in classes with me when I was here, so.
Yeah,
It
okay.
definitely, and she wasn't a one-off, like it wasn't.
Yeah, no,
she
because
wasn't
I
the only one,
remember
so.
too, I think the Caparatas were, they
Mhm.
hosted, so, okay, yeah. I'm making stuff up.
And I think the other thing is the impact on the classrooms. There are seats available, right? So here's another way to, when I say diversify in the classroom, different perspectives, different lenses, and we have the ability to welcome students in the rooms. So there are seats available, so.
Well, the way that it worked when we hosted was there was a binder, and you had to look through kids' profiles and choose somebody who would sort of fit your family. For example, I would look for somebody who could like to ski,
Yeah, compatible, yeah.
Right, so, you'll find a student from somewhere in the world that jives with the things that you like to do as a family, and I think that alone helps with that integration and the welcoming that you're talking about, hoping that PHI will help with, but even within your family, just pick somebody.
Are you saying PHI or 5? Am I hearing?
Both.
Okay,
Both.
so you were saying 5.
I think 5 is a good number to kind of get this off to a good start.
Okay.
Right? And then PHI, P-H-I, is the group that's looking to take the trip to Prague, right?
Prague and Paris, that one?
And
Yeah.
so they had presented to us earlier. And so Project Humanitarian International, I'm like, well, can you help us with a possibility of international students arriving here? And the officers were happy to do it, although in fairness, they're all seniors. So they were going to have dialogue with the underclassmen in the organization. But their enthusiasm said to me, like, this is the right group to keep this going. And I don't think it's a heavy lift. I'm not asking them to, host meetings and do all this. It's just like, a student has arrived from this location, can we make sure that they know some people, right? So.
I mean, it'd be logical that they would do that maybe for any new kid that comes. Maybe we need their skills, but, okay, I don't hear any
Is there a
objection.
financial
That's what I was gonna, my
gain,
only
or,
question, yeah.
we
Any
get
kickbacks?
money for the state for each student that we have?
No, that's a really good question. So the students arrive with like their own spending money, but there is an expectation with the host families that they're, caring for the.
I mean, for the school district to educate the 5 students.
I don't believe so. I'm looking at Diane. But I don't think it's anything. These are seats that are empty now, so we're just going to fill those seats.
I will say I'll be disingenuous if I didn't say it in front of you, but I would look at other options apart from Phi, because when I was home at Christmas and I was talking to friends who live in Paris, live in Prague, live in all these different places for nearly 30 years, and I was sharing, well, this is what it costs. They were like falling off their chair. They're like, oh my God. I was like, that doesn't sound a lot to me. They're like, no, that's nuts. So, like, I think Phi might be an option.
Phi is a school club.
Oh, but I'm talking about the money to, to pay, what I'm trying to say is if there are other bodies that will allow kids to come over that they don't have to pay as much into, I think we should look at that.
Yeah.
Like 6,000 is a lot for a lot of families.
Right.
You're talking about the trip?
Yeah, I'm talking about the trip, that just that money, but like if I'm 16 and I want to go and live in America or Mexico or wherever and go to school here, we should make it open, more accessible for more people.
Yeah, the way the visa structure is, you have to go through these sponsoring organizations. So anyway, this is the cleanest way to make that work. But I hear you on the expense. That's always something to be aware of.
I hear no objection to you moving forward.
No, I think it's great. Great for the town, great for everybody.
I will plug ahead then. So thank you for that. And so I just didn't want you to be surprised if you see something in the Hull Times, for example, that's announcing that we are looking for host families. Now you know why and what is behind that. All right. So next up, we have the MASC representative on February 23rd. So I was asked to line up Sean Costello, who is the MASC rep on the South Shore, to come and work with the school committee on that day relative to the goal-setting process that we're going to get into in a minute. And so what I'm proposing is that we shift our regular meeting from a regular business meeting to sort of a workshop model on that day so that we can work with Sean. And I asked Sean, we're scheduled to start at 6:30, that's when our regular meetings are. Sean's available earlier. And so I didn't know if the school committee had in mind an earlier start time that might work. So, this would not be a business meeting, it would be a workshop. So is there a start time that makes sense?
So it would not be one of our normal open sessions. It would be a time, just for our committee to work and learn together, which is not subject to open session laws. So the question is, could we meet earlier?
Exactly.
Could we consider meeting at, I'm gonna throw out a number just to start the conversation. Could we consider meeting around 5? I mean, are you thinking 3? Are you thinking?
No, I said to Sean, he's out, I mean, let's put it this way. February 23rd was the soonest we could get him. And he said he'd rather just start earlier if possible. He lives, I think, in Marshfield, so he's in the area, but if we're looking at a 2-hour session, starting at 5 has him headed home at 7. If we start it later, it's later.
Could we do 5? I know that's early, but.
My schedule's completely open on that day, so.
Okay.
I can do as early as 4, but with planning.
Okay.
I can aim for 5 and let you know if it doesn't work.
Okay. Let's go ahead and say 5.
Yeah.
And you'll let him know?
Yep.
And Maggie, will you send us invitations to change our calendars? Amazing. Awesome. That'll be exciting. I think we're all looking forward to that. Right.
So the next two items I think you have.
Yeah, so I wanted to follow up on with the school committee about some of our previous conversations regarding setting a strategic plan and also setting some establishing our subcommittees, and also thinking about how goals for those subcommittees and goals for the schools and goals for the superintendent and goals for the district and how all of these goals come together. And so just to let you know, based on the learning that happened at the MASC charting the course session in last month, and also just pulling from different resources and learning, Lily and I had a chance to come together and create this visual that I think will hopefully put a little bit of clarity into our conversation. You have the link in your agenda. You're welcome to take a peek at it. It's also there on the screen. What I'm trying to capture here with this visual is how our goals fit together and how they inform one another. So within this entire yellow box, the yellow box is meant to represent the vision of the graduate. And the vision of the graduate is going to inform our 5-year strategic plan. I'm going to come back to some of the details on the column in a second. So let me just talk through the big picture in the center column first. The vision of the graduate is the water that everything is swimming in. We're going to create a 5-year strategic plan, and within that, we'll have our subcommittees will come together and create subcommittee goals and guardrails that will help define the space in which Dr. Jetty leads. The subcommittee goals and guardrails will inform the district goals, which inform the superintendent goals, the school goals, and the classroom goals. I put this arrow going both directions because you could very easily look at it the other direction. The classroom goals are informing the school level goals, which are informing the superintendent goals, the district goals, and on that way. To actually define a little bit of these, I envision, Lily and I have talked about, the 5-year strategic plan is really asking the big question: what is the vision for what we want to be true for our district in 5 years? It would be created, on the left column you see we have owners and advisors. It would be owned by the school committee with a lot of input from stakeholders, educators, students, families, town members, etc. The subcommittee, from there we will select our subcommittees. I'm going to share a proposal for that in just a second. The subcommittees will create goals and guardrails. They're going to answer the question, what are the non-negotiables that are expected and monitored by the school committee? So we are saying through those subcommittee guardrails, we're saying, listen, Mike, we expect these great things, and here are the rules and the parameters that you may not exceed or go outside of. And we're going to talk about those guardrails in just a second. But the subcommittee goals are established by the subcommittee. They're owned by the school committee and are established and informed by the subcommittees. The district goals then are going to answer the question, what are the annual goals that are going to achieve the strategic plan goal? So if we've got this 5-year strategic plan, this section is saying, so what happens at each year? At the end of year 1, at the end of year 2, at the end of year 3? That's really owned at the district administration level, and is still approved by the school committee. So we are still the approvers on that. From those district goals, if we say we want by the end of year 1 all students to have purple hair, then we would expect Dr. Jetty to set a goal that will track how many students have purple hair in each of the year, month by month, and that question. So that will answer the question: what will the superintendent be held accountable for accomplishing this year? That is goals that will be set by the superintendent, but also approved by the school committee. And once the superintendent sets this goal, in this fictitious example, I don't want the whole Times to think I'm creating a goal about purple hair. In this fictitious example, then Dr. Jetty would pass off to the Mr. Shaws that they would create their school goals that would say, what does the school need to accomplish to meet that goal? Principals set those goals, and they're approved by the superintendent. And then finally, once Mr. Shaw, in this example, has the school goals articulated, I'm thinking more specifically, he's already got a math goal, for example, he's then transitioning and having conversations at the classroom level to ask what outcomes will each class need to accomplish. And those goals become owned by the teachers and coaches and approved by the principals. Maybe this seems like common sense, but it felt like there was a little bit of confusion about the relationship, I think specifically between the subcommittee goals and the district goals and the 5-year strategic plan. So I was trying to get a little bit of clarity, and I feel it helped me to think about what questions are going to be answered by each of these different goals, and then also be really clear about who's approving them and who's creating them. Let me pause there. Curious if I've said anything besides purple hair that sounds like you weren't expecting.
That was a listening test. I know what you were doing. No, I think this is fantastic. I really do. And I love the bi-directional. I love the voice of the customer, the vision of the graduate. I love the fact that you've simplified all this multiple competing stuff. We're all here for the kids or the graduate at the end of the day. So I think you've made something very difficult, both you and Lillian made it pretty simple to understand.
Great, good. Other questions? That makes, Courtney, does it look, I mean, when because I made it, I can say it seems really obvious, but I'm not convinced it is at all. It's probably a little tricky, but.
Is it a bit of a spin-off of the MASC pyramid?
Yes. Pyramid. It's 100%, because here's what happened.
So if I just imagine the pyramid, it's the same information in a different shape?
It's the same, more or less the same information. I added the questions that they answer, because that feels most important. Like, what question is that particular tool answering? And then also the ownership piece. But yes, that is, because that was shared with me, and I really struggled to think about how did they you had the classroom at the top, and where the way that I see this really is like all of these things are funneling down on each other.
The opposite, it's a foundation up.
And then there's like the foundation up, but I don't think that, it doesn't matter. I'm like, yes, you are, it says the same thing.
Great.
And if that works better for your brain, then absolutely. To me, I need to think of like the umbrella as the strategic plan, so that I can start to understand like where each of these things fit together. So.
And just if I may, so Eliza and I went to training down on the Cape, and that pyramid structure is what they had. They had the strategic plan as the base of that. That was the foundation of it. But they also had the ownership of that, and it articulated differently. They had it as sort of the district and the superintendent developing that through a process. This has the school committee owning it. So I think and we've got people going to the next, right? Or people sign up for the workshop
Yeah, I think
on the 24th.
all of us.
So let's ask that question. Let's really try to get some clarity, and I think there's an opportunity when Sean comes in February to really get that clarity down about how these things all interplay. You know, as I said to Kyle and Lily when we were talking about it, I'm attached at the hip on that. When the school committee's developing it, like, I'm gonna make sure that we're getting the language right and that it's tight, so that it's very clear how that strategic plan ends up influencing all these other pieces. And so, you know, it's as much as it says the owners are the school committee, it's really, I see it as a very collaborative process.
Yeah. And interestingly, your name's not on there, so I need to change that. So I think it would be like school committee and superintendent with input, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could have like school governance team, or however you want to word it, that it's.
Okay, we'll go and visit that, but that was my attempt to clarify. And then when I started thinking about one of the biggest questions we've had that we need to get moving forward on are our subcommittees, right? And Lily and I both attended an MASC training on Friday that helped to define more about what a subcommittee does. And actually, I guess I don't know if anyone else joined, because you couldn't see who all was on the call. But the subcommittee is really meant to do some of the, to keep the work moving forward in specific content areas, and anything that the subcommittee is working on does not mean that that's not the responsibility of the entire committee, but it is something that the subcommittee has their eye on that ball and is sharing back the progress more specifically. So I tried to, and in this first visual, you see that this subcommittee is going to create its own goals, but it's also going to create something we're calling guardrails. And that was what I was mentioning earlier, which are really just, if you think about on the highway, you've got the guardrails, you have to stay within these two indicators. And I think it's a really important thing for us to say to ourselves and to our community about these are the things that we are monitoring and are holding ourselves and our school leadership team broadly accountable to. So I envision that the subcommittees are setting guardrails around basically what I've drafted as these 5. You will see there's a note there. This is meant to be initial first draft language. I'm not trying to set the subcommittees, but I didn't want you to have to feel like you were going in blind. But I do think that there's a subcommittee that will be setting a goal around and monitoring the guardrails for equity in student opportunities. There will be a budget solvency. For example, Courtney and I lead on the budget subcommittee, and so we would be responsible for setting a goal and some sort of parameters, something as simple as like the district budget will be transparent and demonstrate responsible stewardship of public dollars. Again, first draft language, but just something to name that budget piece. The staff experience, I think that we have an opportunity to give the directive to all of the administrative team that we want to make sure, for example, that staff is treated with respect and set up for success in their role. That allows for things like professional development, performance feedback, those kinds of things. I feel like there's probably a community engagement piece and making sure that community knows that they're an integral part of the teaching and learning cycle. And then finally, legal compliance, which says that we won't be breaking any laws and will maintain our accreditation to DESE. Lily, do you know which subcommittee we are thinking of putting with which of these?
Like how to tie them together?
Yeah, so that we can get, and so that we can make sure that we as a group feel totally sure about which subcommittees we're on.
Yeah.
And we can start the work on that.
I mean, I think some of them are obvious, but I feel like if we all take a look at it and kind of see where they match up with the previous subcommittees we listed out, kind of describing those like interim goals that I listed out, and how they tie in, I think that would be really helpful, just so that we have input from everybody. I think that the budget one, legal compliance policy could fall under that as well. Community engagement, I think, is something we already had. The staff experience, maybe could tie into student achievement, and, yeah.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So these 5 pillars here, or guardrails, is that what we're calling them? Are we replacing the subcommittees that we talked about before with these ones? And maybe replace is not the right word.
Yeah, replace, I
but-
don't think is the right word. We're renaming them because we couldn't move forward with our advisory.
Right, so we're trying to, okay, I'm there.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing Lily say is like equity and student opportunity, right? That becomes the name of the student achievement, or we can call it student achievement, right? The student achievement, but a subcommittee is one of them. The budget and finance is the second. I think also student achievement is the staff experience, but
I feel like it's being overcomplicated by trying to merge language that we can't use, which is the advisement for committees that we committed to but cannot do, and this new language that you're proposing. And this new language looks great to me. Like, there's no reason to keep the old language that we can't use and try to
I see what you're saying.
mold it into this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could keep the titles and then modify the language underneath so that it complements what the goal was for our subcommittees.
Right, and
Yeah.
also, if the advise and confer group that I signed up for is no longer part of it, maybe I just jump into a different guardrail. And,
The
you know,
one
I
thing,
don't-
sorry, go ahead.
I didn't sign in blood.
Oh, yeah. The one thing that I worry about is if we have too many, if we have 5 and there's only, how many of us? 1, 2, 3, 5. I feel like we might dilute our power. And when I look at staff experience, and it's as important as the students' experience, staff experience and community engagement for me would come under NPS or communication or some other term that you want to call it. And hear me out for a second. So I would keep equity and student opportunity. I'm not sure if I really understand what that is, but we can go back to that. Budget, totally understand. And then I would figure out if we need a third. And but the third is, communication, I'll call it, or NPS, or something that pulls together both the staff experience and the student experience. And that legal compliance, I may be over-egging it, but I don't know if that's a full subcommittee. Like, if we adhere to the goal or the rules or the law or whatever it is they want us to do we really need to meet once a week or once a quarter, whatever we have to talk about that? Like, it's almost like a check button.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this idea. I made a note of your making number 3 like some sort of a communications piece. And I think, Brendan, you just called out something that's really important is like, we don't have to have the same number of guardrails as we do subcommittees. So maybe these, like, because obviously we would always hold Mike accountable to the legal compliance thing. And that does probably go without say, right? But, so I think that's, you've just called it out perfectly. Like, we don't need to match up guardrails with subcommittees. But I hear your point of saying, okay, so the first one is, we can talk about equity and student opportunity, but then budget, and then sort of a combination of community engagement, which becomes communications.
Yeah,
And I
we
think
figure out the right term, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think staff experience can move into student opportunity, right? Because
Right.
that's, like Maura was saying, like happy teachers produce happy students.
Great.
Okay.
I would suggest the policy committee that we
Yeah.
had committed to
Which would be legal.
is sort of that legal compliance. So it might be less about are we following the law? Well, of course we are. But this is more about what is our district policy and how do we enact that in the Hull Public Schools.
Thank you for flagging that. Okay. And just given how long, I don't want to talk too much. I'm going to pass it to Lily, but as we think about the strategic plan, I know that Brendan and Lily have done some thinking about how we would go about getting the input from all of those different stakeholders and make this a process that's really inclusive. So would you guys want to share at a high level this first draft of thinking?
Yeah, sure. I made this slide and shared with Brendan just some ideas of how we can come to our strategic plan. And one of which would be in the first month, we would launch an alignment. So we'd whether we form a committee or whatever we decide works best for our group, we would review district data and existing goals and establish shared understanding, scope, and expectations for our district. And then that would be this month, ideally. And then so for months 2 and 3, we would reach out to our community. So we'd have community engagement and data gathering by way of survey, which I've shared with Brendan, and he gave me great feedback. I appreciate you looking through that. And so we would review the data, identify our strengths, our gaps, and find any emerging themes that we're collecting to ensure transparency and community voice is what the survey would be strategizing to. Vision and goals, and we would plan out our draft for our strategic plan. So setting the priorities based on results, aligning with the vision and mission and core values, putting our district into our strategic plan into a clear direction, drafting that plan revised based on feedback. So whether that's through our staff, our community, our administrators, board, and then presenting the draft for final input from the community and the school committee as well. And the goal for when this was drafted was to have the strategic plan set by our retreat, so we could vote on it and then implement it for the fall. So that's basically it. This is just something as a visual to kind of get an understanding as to how long this might take, and how we're going to get to the plan.
Brandon, anything you would add to that, or?
No, just in my head, I've been doing project management and strategy for nearly 30 years. Nothing's ever final. It's always a draft, and always put draft up there. And with the onus that, you know, we will collect new requirements or new stuff that we will work on, but it's always, we'll set a baseline. And we could probably do that, I don't want to commit to a time now, but pretty quickly. And then if we learn out any other stuff through the data, through the community or teachers, et cetera, we can pull that into our plan, and then we just figure out who the accountable people are, set timelines, and
Yeah.
whatever we need. Question?
We need a stopgap for this year, because we cannot set Dr. Jetty's goals without at least kind of a framework of what the strategic plan might be, so that his goals can be related to the strategic plan. And I understand that, you know, we can't wait till July for that to happen. You know, we need to come up with something concrete before that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have goals,
They
like
were not finalized.
but they haven't been finalized, yeah. But we can move forward with looking at those goals that he drafted, and I feel like that's where those guardrails probably give us a little bit of a stopgap on like non-negotiables in the meantime.
'Cause I had a real aha moment at the training where we had gone to the retreat and we started to talk about goals, but goals are 3 steps down the line from how they should be created. You know, and I get that we are backtracking a little bit, trying to now create the strategic plan and a 5-year vision, but for this year, we need to finalize those goals.
Agreed.
I think we might be overcomplicating it, I'll just say that. Like, I hear you, but I think we can agree on, or we could get to a point where we agree on like larger themes, I'll call them.
For
And
sure.
we call it harmony. You know, it could be harmony with the students, harmony with the teachers, and then maybe dust off Dr. Jetty's original goals.
I think the scope of this is too big for this year, for implementation
But yeah, I
for
think we need
this
some kind of
year.
interim.
That's right, we need a stopgap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is more so for the fall, but it's gonna take this year to work on it. So that's
And
just what this is.
I agree with all of that, but we need something
In the
for
meantime.
now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 2 tracks.
Agreed.
So it's this and.
Correct.
And Brendan, will you repeat what you just were saying about harmony, and isn't that like maintaining harmony and then dusting off his old?
Yeah, I was thinking of, like, without getting into specifics, we could align on, like, almost like esoteric themes around harmony, the happiness of our students in our schools, the happiness of our teachers, the happiness of our vice principals, et cetera, and obviously Dr. Jetty. There could be other ones around growth, around, you know, increasing our student numbers. There could be one, or a budgetary one around reducing blah, blah, blah by 10%, whatever that is. Like, we could quickly pull together 5 or 6 of those in conjunction with dusting off Dr. Jetty's original draft and see, okay, these are the down and dirty goals that'll bring us to the fall. And then in the meantime, that's one track, and then track 2 is what Lily and yourself have been working on, is the 5-year strategic plan goal, you know, those type more lofty,
Yeah.
set in stone goals.
That's
Not lofty,
interesting.
but you know what I mean, more.
I mean, the truly, because this is just felt missing. So it's not even that we're backtracking. It's that like this is sort of felt missing about, you know, someone says to me, what are your school committee goals, or what are, you know, or from the town, what is the vision for our district? Like, we have so many ideas, and this is, you know, getting very concrete. We have so many ideas about things we want to do and we want to be true for our students, but we haven't given, I don't think we've empowered Dr. Jetty to make those happen by saying, listen, for example, we want an increase in enrollment, and we think that the way to do that is through some sort of external partnership with, with a pathway of I don't know, what do you call it, the ocean, right? Like, and then that allows him to say, guys, I have to do this because the school committee is holding me accountable to. But we haven't had a chance to do that, and I think this is the moment that we can start to think about that, and we can kick that off in August. And what I hear you saying, Eliza, which I don't disagree with, is great. And what about this year?
But I also think that it's a great opportunity now, given the change in graduation requirements. I think now is a great time to start this strategic plan. I'm sad our district has not previously already kind of talked about that, but here we are.
About
having
what?
that they didn't have one before.
I think we had one that ended in
We just had one that,
Yeah.
a 5-year plan that just ended.
in what, but last year, I think it was, yeah.
in
And it was my
fairness-
first year, and so we didn't, yeah, so it's not that we're behind.
And,
it's-
and in fairness to that plan, it was developed 2 superintendents ago with a pandemic in the middle of it. So,
Right.
when it's on the website, it's there, but I don't know
But when
how.
I've looked at it, it's not items that have been checked off.
And I think
necessarily.
part of it is, it was developed by one person, inherited by another, and then
Right.
the world got disrupted. So here we are, right?
here we are.
And so this is an excellent opportunity to reset.
So what does it look like? I guess one thing that I'm not totally clear of, and you having just gone to the charting the course, maybe is a question for the both of you. So when we are talking about Dr. Jetty's goals for this year, are these goals that we are writing on his behalf, or that he is writing?
So in theory, I'm writing them, but it's based upon the overarching. And so this has been part of the struggle for me, is figuring out how all these pieces fit, right? And Sean Costello, in his training with us, was really clear, like, you have to be careful the school committee doesn't just write that for the superintendent, right?
Okay.
So it's this balancing act back and forth to make sure
Yeah.
that,
I remember him saying it was a very collaborative situation, but all of it was based on the foundation of the strategic plan.
Okay, so then knowing, I'm comfortable, so also having been through, Lily and I can speak to this probably more loudly than anyone. Having been through the evaluation cycle a couple of times, the Massachusetts process for the superintendent evaluation is very, I don't even know if the right adjective is myopic, but it's very, like, it's did he do these things to this extent? And it didn't leave me terribly inspired. It's not, I think there's a world where we could be much more aspirational, I guess, is what I was gonna say with some of those goals. So I am inclined, based on that, and Lily, I think I'm looking to you as sort of a co-thought partner in this. I'm inclined to say we could feasibly wait until that meeting with Sean Costello on the 23rd, and if you committed to bringing a draft forward ahead of time, and then we could use that session with him to ensure that we all have the same understandings and that we finalize it, that would give us, then we would have concrete set goals for Dr. Jetty at the end of the night on the 23rd. It's late. I recognize
think that makes sense. The timeline it's gonna be tighter.
Mhm.
I think to work collaboratively, to have that guidance, I think would be helpful, for sure.
But I want to hear the rest of your reactions to that, because I don't know if that would satisfy you, Elisa.
I think guidance is just what we need.
I would just caveat that I think we should redact whatever Dr. Jetty puts forward so that we have a point of view before we meet Sean Costello. So at least we're like, oh, yeah, he submitted these and we added this or took that away, and we're going to measure it this way and then see what he says. So it's
And-
more collaborative or session with it.
Go in with a plan.
Yeah, exactly. What we've
then
seen
it's
is
more-
redacted to it.
Okay, so then it's, you know, we have something that we've agreed upon and we're ready to get his feedback on the
Yeah.
23rd. So if we map that backwards, there's probably only one more, you know, maybe next meeting he presents some sort of a draft for us. And then we have a meeting in between to discuss our thoughts and then bring it to him. Is that right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm looking, so we have a meeting on the 26th, and we have a meeting on February 9th.
So on the 26th, if you could bring us a draft of what you would propose your goals to be, we will use the time between the 26th and the 9th to put our own thoughts to paper, and then put on the 9th, part of our agenda will be to finalize what we are going to take to Sean Costello. Is that wrong?
I thought I brought something to the retreat, didn't I?
You did.
So you
You
want me to
did,
take,
yeah.
to polish that up?
Polish that up.
Got it.
Does that work right?
Absolutely, and I would just think of them as SMART goals, like measurable time,
Right.
you know, all those, I forget what they are, but you know what they are. Like, are they time sensitive, are they reach goals, et cetera, are they attainable, all that.
That,
We can get this done quickly.
yeah, right, especially if we're not overcomplicating it
Yeah.
with charts.
Simplicity is key,
Visual
folks.
person will cut
I'm
out.
very visual. Okay. Does that, yeah, we're all okay with, okay. And then will you adjust the, or both of you adjust the agendas to reflect that? That would be
Yep.
great. Okay. Moving forward, I'm just gonna talk quickly, I just wanted to be, I wanted the committee to know, that, Lily and Mike and I attended last week's first town chairs meeting. Our select board chair had presented this idea to me and the other chairs of the different committees within the town, that it might be nice to have an opportunity for us to come together quarterly to talk about what is happening in each of our individual silos and talk about things where there's, you know, cross-pollination and we might want to be able to support each other. I think a perfect example of that is if you're talking about something like student enrollment, that is not a challenge that is going to be addressed solely in these four walls. That is something that the town is going to have to address with housing. It is going to have to, you know, in different policies. There's a lot of need. And what came up at the meeting was that in a lot of in other states, the select board actually oversees the other committees. That is obviously not the case here, and so we do sort of work in these silos. We attended that meeting to, you know, to understand and to hear more of the concept. The structure of those meetings is still evolving. It sounds like there's a lot of chatter in the community about those meetings and a lot of questions about what, how those meetings will be structured, how the agenda will be determined, who has input on them, and all those things. I just want to share transparently that we attended that. We are giving our feedback to Mr. Nessoff about the fact that, you know, I think what we're going to come back and say to him is, we appreciated the opportunity to come together. We think there's some value in it. And whenever there are topics on the agenda that apply to the school committee, we would be happy to continue to attend. But we would also advocate for some sort of structure. We would want our community to be able to weigh in on topics that they think are important for us to bring to that group. So that's just sort of where I'm landing on that. So, moving forward? Or do we want to stay another few hours? Go ahead.
Going with my dinner.
Back to you.
So just very quickly on the 5-minute update for school safety. So I want the school committee to know, again, we work in partnership with Hull Police and Fire. One of the suggestions that we had from our partners was that in the event of an awful situation taking place, and again, we're talking a fraction of a small percentage that something horrible could happen, that one of the tools that has emerged as being important are that we have staff trained in the use of tourniquets, because tourniquets can be used to stop bleeding. And so the unfortunate reality is that that is a life-saving device. And so we made the decision to purchase tourniquets and to deploy them into the schools, but we also train staff. So last week at the Jacobs, I'm looking at a couple of actually several, raise your hand if you were in the room. I think there's several of us who were there, okay. Who received the training from Hull Fire. And then we have another training scheduled tomorrow here at the high school, so that we have staff who are understanding how to utilize that device. It's about an hour-long training. And again, the likelihood that we're going to have to do that is slim to none. But we still want to make sure that that is something that we understand when and how to apply if necessary. So one more piece that we're adding to our response tools in the awful case that it's necessary. So be happy to have school committee members who would like to attend the training. You would always be welcome with us if you wish. But that is something that, there are plenty of people in the community who have that, but it's a matter of seconds count. And so having staff in the schools ready to jump in was also part of it, so.
Excuse me, ignorance, what is it, a tourniquet?
A tourniquet.
What is that?
If you're bleeding and they wrap it real tight around to stop the blood from continuing to
Strap
go.
above the wound.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, and it's, the training has sort of gone through phases, but it's back as a tool that is important in the event of an event.
Did they talk in the training about when to use it? So
Oh, yeah, and when not
it's
to
like
use it.
last resort, basically.
And, how to properly apply it, where it should be properly applied, all of that was covered in the training. So, this is not about a skim knee. This is about something that is more serious, so we wanted to make sure that we knew when to apply and when not to.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, that's the end of my section. That took a couple hours, sorry.
Thank you. School committee, we don't have any policies to update tonight. I do not believe we have any old business in terms of subcommittees we've talked about or acceptance of donations. Is there anything else from subcommittees that we need to hear from? No? Great. I'm going to move us quickly. I think that we are all caught up on signing of our warrants.
Actually, Diane, did you?
Yep, we're all set.
Just kidding.
So-
What?
Yeah, we're all
All set now, awesome.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Any new business from the school committee? Correspondence to or comments from the school committee members? All right, then I believe we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn at 9 o'clock?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lily. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Awesome, Courtney. All those in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, do I get to do this?
Hitting the mic, that's good.